Marshmallow Money podcast with Bree Jones. Welcome. Yay! How are you doing? How's everything going?
I'm awesome, and things are going good.
And
Yeah.
why don't you tell the audience more about yourself, the kind of content that you create? Let's jump right into it.
So my name is Briani or Bree, and I go by the Bree's News online, and I make art that uplifts and celebrates people that look like us. So I do a lot of illustration, some animation, and even fine art.
hmm
And I'm working on getting my BFA, Bachelor's in Fine Arts at the Art Institute of Chicago. And I think that's pretty much it. I make content about my art and
hmm
stuff that's fun stuff.
That is
That's
so
about it.
exciting. I love to see Black art and just all these representation
Thank you.
within the art industry. That is so amazing, so beautiful. And when did you start making art and start content creation for your art?
Oh my goodness. Now that's a question. So I have been making art since I was a child. So
Wow.
I have I have drawings that I made since I was from way back when I was a little girl. I have stuff just they're in trash bags now, but that's just where I keep them. But
Okay.
just trash bags and drawers full of art that I made ever since I was a kid. I've always been a creative type person. And as far as making content, I started documenting my art, I would say sometime in high school, maybe my
hmm
sophomore, junior year of high school. And yeah, I started taking that a little bit more seriously about 2 years ago, I would say.
hmm
Started making reels, and reels became more like popular. That's when I started really like focusing on content.
That sounds amazing. Just that journey of being able to, express your
Yeah.
art, share on Instagram for so many people to interact with and really enjoy. That is phenomenal. Well, thank you so much for sharing that, Bree. And
Thank
now,
you for
since
asking.
this, right, and since this is like a movie and film podcast, why don't we talk about Black animation? Is that something that you watch, something that you're interested in?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
So basically, I grew up in re- well, I would say I was here, let me say it like this. In my
hmm
classrooms when I was growing up, I was the only black kid in the entire classroom.
Same.
So I felt like a bit of an outcast.
hmm
And that was from the years from kindergarten all the way up through fifth grade, which are very like important developmental stages. And during those
hmm
times, I felt like so much of an outcast. So I found
hmm
art as my escape.
hmm
And so I'd watch a lot of TV, a lot of animation.
hmm
But I noticed that there wasn't a whole lot of black animation during the time. We had the Proud Family, right?
Right.
There was Boondocks, but I wasn't allowed to watch Boondocks back then.
No.
So really, all that I had at the time was Proud Family. Of course, I watched other things like that, but as far as black animation, that was really like the only thing that I had that I could really see myself in. And then there
Mhm.
was also Princess and the Frog that came out when in like what 2009. I was about 8 years old, but
Mhm.
yeah, that's a great movie. I think black animation is so important,
Yes.
and I feel like a lot of people don't really understand the impact that it holds that a child to see themselves in these pieces of media that they watch growing up. So I'm a huge fan of black animation. Like I love indie studios that do black animation, all of
Mhm.
it. I just want to, oh yeah, love
I
it.
I love that. So I know you mentioned Proud Family. Who are some of your favorite characters from that show? Favorite
Oh
scenes?
my goodness. Okay, so my favorite character,
Mhm.
this might be a take maybe, but I loved Oscar. He was so goofy. He reminds me of. I hope my daddy ain't watching. He kind of reminds me of my daddy.
Oh, that's
I thought he
nice.
was so funny, but oh my god, True Day.
Sugar
You feel me? I loved
Sugar
him.
Mama.
Yeah, talk about yeah,
Right.
exactly, exactly. So yeah, I would say he's probably my favorite character. Sugar Mama's a close second. And Penny is always gonna be like a core character to my heart because she just felt so relatable. You
Mhm.
understand? So
Right.
yeah, yeah, I have a lot of love for her.
That's so
Definitely.
nice. It was such a good show. All the
Oh
characters
yeah,
very relatable to like the Black experience, just like watching the
exactly.
animation, feeling like, oh, I know someone like this, or they're in my own family, my own, you know, upbringing. So that is, it's great to see that with Disney Channel, them having that
Absolutely.
representation. Right. And with your own art, do you ever draw these kind of cartoon characters that are in like, like Disney shows or in film, or are your characters more a reflection of what you want to draw, or is like an inspiration?
So I would say a lot of my
Mhm.
characters nowadays reflect my. They're all original characters. I've never
Mhm.
really been into original characters that fall within the realm of someone else's um, worlds and stuff, like
Mhm.
making fan art for Disney or
I get
Cartoon
that.
Network and
Mhm.
Nickelodeon, and I have nothing against that. But I think there was always something within me that just wanted to create my own IPs, my own intellectual properties, so that one day I could propose them to these same networks. So yeah, I
Mhm.
draw a lot of my own characters. Like for instance, I have this ongoing project Sugar Spice, and I draw uh, the main character. Her name is Lolita. Then there's Cherie and Honey. Those are like the three girls, and those girls are all original characters. And then
Mhm.
there's my own like personal projects that I take care of, where I've been drawing this character of mine. I call him Kenny, and he represents all of the things that I loved about being a child, like animation and creativity and
Mhm.
my video games I grew up playing. So yeah,
Mhm.
I care a lot more about developing my own characters, I would say.
Yeah, that is totally understandable. I'm so glad you're able to just have all these original, fresh ideas and make this beautiful kind of art that is
It's fun.
fantastic. So you were mentioning you want to pitch these characters in this kind of animation style to studios. Is that the ultimate end goal, or what do you think about that?
I would say, oh man, I don't even have an end goal. I'll be honest with
Fine.
you. I have so many different things that I want to do in my life, but it's
Hmm.
definitely a goal of mine to have a show on one
Hmm.
of the networks that I grew up watching.
Okay.
I would say Cartoon Network is probably like my number one because I loved Cartoon Network growing
So
up.
excited.
So if you see Kenny on there, you feel me? But I have a
Hmm.
lot of end goals, but I would say that's definitely one of them. I'd
Hmm.
love to have my own show on the network.
Okay. That I really hope that, all works out, that all happens. I'm
Thank
really
you.
rooting for you, Bree. Cartoon Network, if you ever see this, hit
Yeah,
Bree up. Have
hit
her
me up.
on your studios.
I got too many ideas, y'all.
Exactly. Like they need to hear it. They need to have more of your ideas on their show. Because
Thank
there's some pretty good
you.
shows out there, but they don't have
Yeah.
Bree's art right now. So that needs to
Period.
happen. They need
Thank
to
you.
happen. Right. And I know you grew up watching Cartoon Network. So what are some of your like go-to shows, things that you enjoyed watching?
Oh man, specifically from Cartoon
Mhm.
Network. I remember back in about third grade, I grew up. They had this one thing with they called it Har Har Thursdays, and they would
Oh,
put on like Total Drama to end off the night. I don't know if you remember Total Drama
yes.
Island. That was
I
my
love Total
show.
Drama. It's so funny.
That
Oh my
was my
gosh.
show. Don't
Yes.
get me started. I love Total Drama. They had this other show on there that was also, I believe it was technically within the same universe as Total Drama. Do you remember 16? I'm so
Yes.
excited. Starting to
I know
finally.
16.
I
I
loved
watched
that
it.
show too.
Hmm.
Oh yes. I love 16, Ben 10,
Yeah.
Camp Lazlo. Don't get me started. I'll name all the shows.
Okay.
I
It was
loved
good.
almost everything during that time period, like Teen
Hmm.
Titans. A hot tip though,
Oh.
I wasn't really
Oh.
into Adventure Time and regular shows as much as everyone
Yes.
else. Those two were like everybody loved Adventure Time and regular show. I never really got into them like that,
Hmm.
but I was a big fan of Cartoon Network during that time period. Let me tell you.
Such good shows. Like,
Yeah,
especially just Total Drama Island. That was
I'm
my
telling
show.
you,
I love it. I love, the main host, Chris, and then there
Chris,
was Gwen,
Gwen,
Heather, Chef
exactly.
Hatchet. Oh my
Ooh,
gosh.
yes, Lashana. Harold.
Yes, LaShawn, all those people, it was just
Yeah,
like they were like caricatures, like really like over the
exactly.
top, but they were
They were all,
hilarious.
they were
Hmm.
so funny. I'm telling
Yeah,
you.
right. Like I would love to see like more seasons of Total Drama Island come out because it was just like such a part of my childhood and such a
Yeah,
part of your childhood as well. Other people
yeah,
too. Solid show.
exactly. It was
Right.
wonderful.
And were you a fan of Boomerang as well, or was it mostly like Cartoon Network?
I did go on
Hmm.
Boomerang from time to time, but I would say mostly it was on Cartoon Network. I'm trying to remember what was on Boomerang, like the Flintstones,
Yes.
Jetsons.
I think Tom
Um,
and Jerry was on Boomerang.
oh, I
I'm
love
pretty
Tom and
sure.
Jerry. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
girl,
For
yes.
sure.
I had it on DVD. I had a whole bunch of
Yes.
DVDs with Tom and Jerry and
Mm-hmm.
the original Looney Tunes and Felix the Cat
Mm-hmm.
from way back in the day. So yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah. I love the classic cartoons as well. What did they
Mm-hmm.
call those? I believe they called them rubber hose
Ooh.
cartoons because they could stretch and squash like that old style of animation.
Okay.
Yeah, I was a big fan of that.
Mm-hmm.
Popeye.
Pop Popeye. Yes, like
Yeah.
Popeye, and then I forgot her name. It was like the girl in the show,
Olive
the one that
oil.
he was.
Olive Doyle. Olive oil. I think
Yeah,
that's her name.
one of the two. But she was always getting into some kind of trouble and needing
I
Popeye.
swear.
And then there was like the main like villain in the
Villain
show,
Pete. I think
Pete.
I don't remember.
Yeah,
Something
and then
like
Popeye would
that.
eat a spinach and then go out and
Mm-hmm.
rescue
All the
Olive Oil or
sleeving.
something. He just becomes strong because
Yeah.
he eats his spinach.
Exactly.
Throwback.
Yep.
You gotta
That is
love
a
it.
true throwback.
Hmm.
Yep. That's back in the day.
Back
Back
in the
in the black
day.
and white days.
Right. And then
Yeah.
of course like the animation, they got like colored animation. You got to
Yep.
see different styles. And it really
Exactly.
switched from like hand drawn animation to more of like,
The
digitalized
digital.
computer
Yep.
animation. Right.
Exactly,
Mm-hmm.
exactly. Now that's a real that was a real transformation in the animation space. Let me tell you, I took an animation class
Mm-hmm.
during my sophomore year
Mm-hmm.
of college, and they had us start off by doing the traditional flip, like you have to draw, flip the page, and make sure that the animation looks very smooth. And that was so much fun. It was very difficult,
Wow.
but I loved it. I'll be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
But that's some true skills. So my hat goes off to those people who were animating like that back in the day because,
Mm-hmm.
shoot, I don't know if I could do it.
Exactly.
A
Yeah,
whole
it's
film that way.
it seemed really difficult. Like what you were saying
Yeah.
with your class, like with a lot of like Disney animation from like the 1920s, 1930s, even up to like the 2000s were all like hand drawn,
Yeah.
or hand
I
written.
missed
And of course now
it.
it's,
It
yeah.
was classic. Let me tell you, some of the best
Mm,
animated movies
say it
were done on
again.
with their hands. Like, oh my goodness gracious. And I
Right.
feel like we're gonna go through another exploration of that in the coming years. I think people,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the industry has really thoroughly explored that realm of 3D animation, and they're gonna start going back to the roots because there's something that you just cannot replicate about that hand drawn feeling, the magic of it. It's just you can't compare it to anything else. It's too
Exactly.
good.
It
Yeah,
is. Like Prince of the Frog, Cinderella, all of those are just like such classic and just
exactly.
beautifully, just animated. Do you have some of your
Exactly.
favorites within that like original Disney animation?
Well, I've already mentioned Princess and the Frog. That's gotta be my favorite, one of my favorite Disney
Mm-hmm.
films, period.
Mm-hmm.
Probably my favorite because Pixar is separate. My second favorite movie is Pixar, but as far as like classic Disney,
Mm-hmm.
Princess and the Frog, number one.
Okay.
Let me try to think what else. I wasn't really huge into the princesses like that,
Okay. That's
and
fine. But like in animation in general within Disney, it can be like anything.
right,
It could be like
right.
Hunchback of Notre Dame
Oh, I
or
haven't seen that one
oh,
yet.
okay. I saw it
Yeah, I need
recently.
to. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's good. I need to
It's
check it
pretty
out.
good. It's a really like dark
Oh,
film. It's
I love
a
dark.
bit heavy.
I
Yeah.
love dark animation. Let me tell
Ooh,
you the
okay.
people tend to think that animation really has to serve the young kids, but I'm
Hmm.
someone that believes that animation can serve any age
Any
group and
age.
any demographic. And
Mm-hmm.
it's such an overlooked medium to deliver powerful messages. That's just how I feel about it anyway.
Exactly. Not
Yeah,
just for kids,
it's
also
not
for
just
young
for
adults,
kids.
adults as well. You said it right.
Exactly, exactly. And now I'm here
Mm-hmm.
trying to think of my favorite Disney films. I'm so sorry, I'm drawing blanks right
It's
now.
okay. What about Pixar? What
Yeah,
are some of your favorite within Pixar? Because you said your second favorite in animation was Pixar. So, what are some of
yes.
your top Pixar movies? What do you
Right.
enjoy within that studios?
Oh man, my favorite Pixar
Mm-hmm.
movie has got to be The Incredibles. I recently
Oh,
rewatched it, the first Incredibles.
mm-hmm.
I love that movie. Something about that
Yeah.
classy, jazzy feeling, that Americana
Mm-hmm.
feeling. One of my favorite painters ever, or
Mm-hmm.
illustrators, his name is Norman Rockwell, and I
Mm-hmm.
can see that Americana 1950s, 60s feeling, that vibe from his paintings in that uh, movie. I almost called the movie a work of art, but I feel like it is a work of art.
It is. It's
Um,
The Incredibles. Like it
it
was
was amazing.
amazing.
Yeah, it was too good.
Mm-hmm.
I had recently watched a YouTube video explaining what set The Incredibles apart from the other Pixar films at the time.
Oh.
It's actually the longest running Pixar film. I think technically it's the second longest running now. 6 seconds behind the first Inside Out movie, I believe, something like that. And
Wow.
the first movie to showcase actual real guns in a Pixar
Ooh,
film,
a bit
people
advanced.
dying.
Yeah.
I know, right? And this is
Right.
what I mean when I say that animation doesn't only have to be for little kids. Like
Exactly.
I'm so passionate about this. I'm sorry if I'm coming
No,
off too
speak your truth, speak your mind. I want to
it
hear it
is
all. They want to hear it all. Go on.
awesome. I'm
Mm-hmm.
telling you, I was recently telling my grandpa. My grandpa is the one who raised me, actually, him and my grandma. And I was telling him about my plans in the future to become like an illustrator, animator, XYZ. And he was like, that stuff is kind of for kids, isn't it? And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
Papa, that's the whole problem. This stuff is not only for kids. There's so much to be explored through the medium of animation. And that's the thing. People look at it as only aimed for something, for a certain type of people, rather than looking at it as a medium. You wouldn't say that, freaking oil paintings are only for children or whatever. It's a medium. Art can be used for anything, any kind of it's an outlet of
Mm-hmm.
expression.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for
yes,
sure.
yes. Yeah, I love that The Incredibles took that risk to give it more of
Mm-hmm.
a more adult edge to the film without going overboard. It's truly a
Mm-hmm.
family film. And when I think in my head, family film, I think of something that can captivate the minds of a child, a teenager, a grown adult, someone old. I've been watching that film since I was a little kid. I'm 23 now, and I can
Mm-hmm.
still watch it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so good. You feel
Same.
me?
It's so
Yeah,
good because it came out in 2004. It still holds true till this day. It is a
exactly.
top tier
It's top
Pixar movie.
tier. It's
Top
top
tier.
tier.
And not many
Yeah,
can compare to that. Like you can see so many other
exactly.
Pixar movies, we might watch them once or twice, but it's not going to have that same kind of time value as
Exactly.
Incredible, as either
Exactly.
Ratatouille. That's also
Exactly.
classic.
Oh man, I need to rewatch Ratatouille. I remember
Mm-hmm.
watching it for the first time when it first came out in the theaters. Very good film. Amazing.
So good.
Amazing movie.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It really showcases that ability that if you put your mind to it, you can be successful. If you're a rat somewhere in the, you know, you can still cook. Like you can still make it and have
Exactly.
your restaurant and be up there in the
Ex-
culinary industry. Like it's possible. So it really just uplifts, encourages anyone. And that's animation, it
and that's
resonates to
animation.
everybody. Parents,
It resonates
young
with
adults.
anybody.
Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
I'm so glad
That is
you get that. We're right here with that one.
exactly. I,
Exactly.
I understand you, Bree. And that's animation.
That's
Right.
yeah, exactly.
So what are you looking forward to with animated movies or just any movie show in general that's coming out in 2024, 2025?
Stuff I'm looking forward
Mhm.
to in the
Mhm.
future. Mm, so
Mhm.
really, I feel like going into the new years, I'm gonna be keeping my eye out for more indie things. I feel like that's where the next generation
Mhm.
of some really inspiring and world changing animation is gonna come from.
Okay.
Also, I think my Alexa just randomly turned on. Can you hear that?
Oh, I can't
No?
hear
Oh,
anything. No.
okay, great, wonderful. I don't know why she just randomly started playing music.
That's Alexa.
But that's Alexa for you. But yeah, I feel like, and that I feel like that's something that a lot of us should be doing is taking note of the indie stuff going forward and giving these new animators a chance to prove themselves because I feel like we're starting to see, especially on the networks, a bit of a decline in the quality. Think
Ooh.
about new SpongeBob. Think
Mm.
about really a lot of these things that these bigger networks or these bigger
Mhm.
production companies are just starting to
Mhm.
sit around in a comfort zone. They're not,
Mhm.
a lot of the time now, they're not really trying to explore and do new things that
Mhm.
these new indie artists and
Mhm.
animators are able
Mhm.
to do. They're taking
Right.
risks. They're really, putting themselves out there.
Mhm.
And I wish I could name some off the top of my head, but I'm drawing
It's,
blanks right now. I'm so
it's all
upset.
right.
But
Don't worry about that. No,
yeah,
it's all right.
I'm very passionate about these smaller artists and smaller animators that are really trying to get their foot in the door. And I'm
Mhm.
starting to believe that they don't really need networks going forward. I feel like that these smaller animators need to be producing um, their own animation companies online and on through YouTube. We have so many tools. Like
Mhm.
you guys can do it yourselves. You don't need to run to these networks to get greenlit and then have these people who've been in the industry for 15, 20, 30 years
Mhm.
putting their fingers on your projects and changing them up.
Exactly.
Exactly. I
Mhm.
feel like we should be taking it into our own hands to change the scope of what's happening in the future. That's my opinion on it anyway.
That is beautifully said. We need to pay more attention to smaller animators, give these indie studios a chance to really expand, to really grow, allow some diverse opinions and
Exactly.
animation styles to come out. I that is
Exactly.
really well said. But I
Yeah.
think even one of the larger studios is trying to have a more like diverse aspect to it. Sony Pictures, Across the Spider Verse. I don't know if you watched that.
Loved it.
Okay,
Loved it.
okay. So as a like an animation, someone that does like, a lot of character drawings, like what do you think about that movie? What were your thoughts on it, on the animation style, on the overall theme, plot point? Let's dive right in.
All right.
Mhm.
So, man, the Spider Verse movies. Let
Yes.
me just first of all an applause to taking like these experimental routes in when it comes to
Hmm.
animation. It looks like they took a blend of that traditional hand-drawn 2D animation and then mixing it with that
Yes.
3D animation that
Hmm.
we're accustomed to seeing nowadays, and they made something that is truly unique.
Hmm.
Um, and then what happened, I feel anyway, was a lot of other studios began to copy this style in their own.
Ooh.
Have you noticed that? I saw that oh my gosh, I think the movie was called Intergalactic by
Yes.
yes.
On
A lot
Netflix.
of these, yes, on Netflix, a lot of these
Hmm.
studios are they see what was unique and popular and they kind of leech off of it. But I just want to really congratulate the people who worked on the Spider Verse movies for really pitching that and stepping outside of the box because
Yeah.
that really blew everyone's mind when it came to that. The writing, superb. I love the use of different animation styles. I remember in the second movie, there were certain points in the movie that looked like they're almost done in oil or in
Ooh.
acrylic, like parts where Gwen was like at home in her home. I don't know if you remember that scene, but it was like
Hmm.
the colors were very
Like
experimental.
the
And one thing
blue
about me,
colors, the
the
pink colors. I think I
blue,
remember you're
the
talking about.
pink,
Right.
yes,
Hmm.
exactly. And one thing about me, I love color. I love it. So anything experimental that comes from color, I'm all for it because color really communicates
Yeah.
a lot of different types of emotion.
Hmm.
And yeah, they really. took that and ran with it in those movies. And
They
listen,
did.
I am so all for that. Great
Hmm.
job to the people on Spider Verse.
It was so good. Like both the movies,
Yeah,
just very beautifully animated, and I cannot
yes,
wait for the third one to come out.
me neither.
Hopefully, 2025 or 2026, we can see the third installment
Yes,
of Spider
it's
Verse
been too
Beyond the
long
Spider.
already.
It's been too long. We left with a cliffhanger. We wanted to
Yeah,
see more.
exactly. Man, that had me
Exactly.
heated.
Right.
Yeah,
So yeah,
yeah.
I guess we'll get more news soon. But we've been getting a lot of Marvel news. Are you a Marvel fan? Sort of, kind of.
Oh boy.
Mm-hmm.
So I am not the hugest Marvel fan. I'm still pretty late to the
It's
whole
all good.
Marvel train, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm very interested in arts of all forms. So I need to take another look at what's going on Marvel these days outside of the Spider Verse movies, because that's really where I've directed my attention when it comes to Marvel.
All right. Well, there are a few announcements. There was Comic-Con ended today, actually, and there's
Ooh,
announcements. Yes, there was Avengers 5 and Avengers 6.
ooh,
Avengers 5 is called Avengers Doomsday, and it's coming out May 2026. And then there's also Avengers Secret Wars. That one's coming out May
ooh.
2027. So if you want to dive into the world of Marvel, two Avengers movies are coming out for you to check
Nice.
out.
Well,
Yeah.
that sounds very exciting. They come out in my birth month too, so shoot, maybe I'll treat myself to a little birthday
Yeah,
Marvel thing.
May birthdays. Awesome. Mine's
Yeah.
just a month after that, June. So, like, kind of close with
Ooh,
that.
Gemini.
Yeah.
Ooh, ooh, ooh. We not the Gemini girls coming through. The black Gemini girls. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love
It's a
it.
vibe.
It's a
All right.
vibe. It's a
It's
vibe
a
we're here
vibe.
for.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Period. Well, Bree, what is one advice or one thing you want to leave the audience as we are wrapping up this podcast?
Oh man. Some advice to leave the audience off and get kind of
Mhm.
close, get kind of
Yes.
serious. Okay, so I want to say for anybody who is pursuing anything in the black animation or just animation industry, period,
Mhm.
don't lose touch with what really drives you. Don't make
Mhm.
things for other people. Make it for
Mhm.
yourself, because that's really what's going to carry you through to the end. You're going to
Mhm.
feel fatigued. You're going to feel like you don't want to do it every day. But as long as you have that core spark within you that keeps you going, you'll never stop. Okay, you'll find
Mhm.
yourself returning to your roots always.
Mhm.
So as long as that's there within you, it's gonna take you far, right? I've always had this spark within me to create art ever since I was a young child. In fact, see here.
Ooh, guys, we get to see something.
This is from I don't know what year, but I was a little kid.
Wow.
I've been drawing since I was a little girl. You always return to your roots, okay? You always return to your
Yes.
roots. So let what really matters to you fuel you.
Hmm. Beautiful.
It'll carry you really far. And
Yeah.
thank God along the way.
Amen.
That's all.
I love that advice. That is some great advice. I hope you guys are listening,
Thank
taking
you.
notes, applying this advice that Bree has given us. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. This is fun.
Yes, it was fun. Thank you for joining. Someone said facts, absolutely facts. Everything you're saying about animation, your art, all facts. And guys, go follow Bree. Go check out her
Thank you.
art. Go along with
Yeah.
her on this journey of eventually going on Cartoon Network, having her
Period.
art fully animated. So, yes, can't wait to see it.
Period. My followers, please follow Gianna. She was amazing to reach out to me and have me on her podcast. And just to note, I couldn't see myself or anything on the lower half of the screen.
Oh,
So if anybody was commenting and trying to talk to me, couldn't see it. But anyways, this was amazing.
it's all good.
This is amazing.
They
Thank
can
you so
reach out
much.
to you after.
Of course,
Oh,
feel free to reach out.
thank you so much, Bree. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
You too.
Thanks again for joining, and I will see you around.
Awesome. I hope to
Bye.
be back